Okay, guys, we're gonna get started. Y'all have any questions about anything this week? We had the speakers last week. We had Kristen, who was from federal court, and then we had Angie, who was talking about freelance. Kristen got back with me, and I think someone had a question about how long you keep the stuff.
She's not here though.
Yeah, imagine that. But she thought that it was 10 years. She had talked to one of the reporters that has been there a while, and he thinks that it was 10 years that you have to keep your stuff. So it's kind of a long time. But, I mean, you know, it is what it is. You know, like I told you guys, ours is 3 years. So anything civil is 3 years. And then anything criminal is 12 years, I believe. 12. Okay?
IRS is considered civil, isn't it?
IRS?
Yeah. And bankruptcy court?
No, it all depends. I think it all depends.
Well, IRS and bankruptcy are also federal, but it's not federal criminal. So if
It
it's
can
not
be.
federal criminal, I'm
You
assuming
can
it's
go to
federal
jail for not paying your taxes.
civil or evading them. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I think there's a civil and a criminal side to it also. And it may just be one court. It may not even be considered. I don't know enough about it, and that would have been a good question to ask Kristen, but I don't know enough about that federal system to, you know, really be able to tell you. But they may not have like a civil or criminal side. It may just be one where, you know, they just deal with what they deal with, and if you go to jail, great, and if you pay a fine, you pay a fine, whatever, you know. But I would think it would be more criminal because you're either going to be on probation, you're paying some kind of restitution or something, some kind of fine, or you're going to jail. So, okay. We're on chapter 37, okay? The technology of transcript production. Okay, some of the objectives are explain the phrase real-time writing and translation, briefly describe closed captioning, briefly describe CART. I'm not going to go over those things, guys. I'm not going to go over the CART. I'm not going to go over the closed caption, whatever. I think that was covered in the chapter when Whitney came, you know. So, discuss some of the reasons why it is good to have a live court reporter accompanying the videotaping of a deposition. List some of the advantages, disadvantages of videotaping court proceedings. List various applications of videotaping in relation to court proceedings. Discuss the various forms used by a videotape technician. Discuss some applications for the use of electronic tape recording in relation to court reporting. List some advantages and disadvantages of electronic tape recording. Define voice to print or speech to text technology. List some problems encountered with voice to print technology. Explain the term voice writing as it relates to court reporting. And discuss the pros and cons in relation to real-time writing and translation versus real-time voice speech to text technology. I think this is going to be kind of a long chapter or whatever, so anyway. All right, real-time writing and translation. Most freelance reporters and many official courts have been working with real-time technology for many years. Real-time translation is exactly what the term or the words imply. Translation of the spoken word into printed format as soon as it is spoken. I mean, you guys know that. As technology becomes friendlier and easier to use, as prices decrease, and as court reporters keep abreast of the changes in their field, real-time reporting and translation are becoming the standard of the industry. More and more reporters realize the need to adapt to the changing technology of the field, and they are using the concepts of real-time writing to their everyday work environment. Absolutely. I mean, now, I don't even know if most firms or courts will hire you if you don't do real-time. And you don't have to be real-time certified, but you have to do real-time. So, I mean, unless you get with the judge that just doesn't want it, and there's still a few judges that just haven't adapted, not that they haven't adapted to it, they just kind of stay busy. My judge stays real busy with what he does. So he stays real involved with what he does. You know, whether he's, you know, going over previous notes or whether, you know, he's real in tune with the testimony. So, but a lot of them like it because they're able to go back, you know, when there's a an objection, you know, to the form of the question or the hearsay, is like, well, what was the exact question? You know, my judge asks that all the time. What was the exact question that you asked? Most of the time they get it pretty close or whatever, and then sometimes I have to read back. So anyway, a shorthand reporter that is either hooked to a computer by cable or is capable of storing the shorthand strokes on a cassette tape, disc, or internal memory storage drive device. The ability to read the electronic strokes into a computer that is equipped with specialized software to translate the strokes into their English equivalent. A shorthand dictionary that is stored in memory that will translate the shorthand outlines. A word processing application within the software that allows for editing and printing of the translated textual material. Monitors or computer screens on which judges, lawyers, and perhaps a jury can see the spoken word. And various other peripheral equipment such as high-speed printers and copiers, fax hookups and modems, and allow for instant translation and transmission. I tell you guys what's pretty cool. You know, and you guys didn't go last night to the thing for Glenn, but Mary Berry and Cindy Hyatt were talking about, they're in a daily copy right now. This is today was the 42nd day. 42 days, and the plaintiff still hasn't rested. So the defense hasn't even put on. So 40 days, if there's just 8 days, I mean, there's 5 days in a week, that's already 8 weeks that they've gone. And they haven't even rested yet. And, you know, they were talking about, they don't even feel like they're close to being resting. The plaintiff's side.
Are they working on the same case?
What's that?
Are they working on the same case?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
One of them takes the morning, and then the other one takes the afternoon, and then it has to be done by that evening. So what's pretty cool that I didn't know, I didn't realize until last night, is that they have somebody scoping it in Oregon. So as they're doing it, it's going to Oregon. This girl is editing it and then sends it back when it's done.
You couldn't find somebody here?
I'm sure they probably could, but
Might be through a connection, a previous scopus that they trust.
yeah. And they were saying, I mean, she's phenomenal. This girl is phenomenal. Granted, I mean, both of those girls are very, very good writers, very good. But I mean, they just say she's phenomenal. But for this girl to be hundreds, if not thousands of miles away, and they're sending it over there, she's doing it and sending it back, and it's happening the same day. So they have to be done with that transcript. They probably get done at 5 o'clock. That transcript has to be done by 7. 7 o'clock, they're usually done. And making buku Dolores. Bad money, bad.
That's it.
But I mean, they're working. Don't get me wrong. They're working. But that's what this is. That's what we're talking about right now, technology. And you can tell just by reading this book, it's a little bit old. This book is a little bit old. They're still talking about cassettes and, you know, whatever. I mean, but I mean, that's how far it's come. That's how far technology has come, is that, you know, they're able to do something like that. You know, back in the day, you know, when we were still doing it on paper, I mean, you'd have to, you know, get the notes and go back there. So they were shifting like every, I think there was usually like 3 or 4 reporters that would usually do it on a real time. I mean, if it was a daily copy. So they would take like 2 hours, then the other one would come in for 2 hours, then they'd break for lunch, and they'd come in for 2 hours in the afternoon, then the other one would come in for 2 hours and finish it, and then they would have it cranked out by like the next morning or sometime that evening. So then the reporter that took the last one, you know, would have to work till, you know, 10 or 11 or whatever, get that cranked out, get it to the attorneys or whatever, And then, you know, she would sleep in the next morning and then come for the afternoon and be ready for the afternoon. Crazy stuff. You know, how far it's come. You know, and that's how far it's come, is now you have two. And I mean, you know, you could probably even do it with one. You could probably do it with one. It's just a lot to put on one person to write that much, you know, and then have to do that. So I think what they're doing is sending it to her. She sends it back, and then the reporter proofreads it. So, pretty cool though. Real-time setups can involve a very simple application, as when the reporter uses his or her laptop computer to display real-time translation, or they may be very elaborate and complex application involving many PCs and monitors spread throughout the courtroom. So, I mean, you know, I don't know if they're doing that in this case or not. I don't know if it's real-time. I know it's daily copy, but I don't know if it's real-time for the attorneys. But, you know, the cool thing about it is, you know, they have monitors on their desk when they do it, and they can scroll up and scroll down and to the, I don't even think to the side, they just scroll up and down, but they can't change anything, so they can't type anything. You know, it's a type of program where, you know, they just, they're able to see it.
Read only?
Yeah, yeah, so you can't mark in it or whatever. Some real-time, you know, setups have laser printers that print rough draft copies of the translated material. So, you know, if somebody says, you know what, I want a rough draft of that depo that you took today. Okay, go through there, clean it up a little bit. You put your speaker identifications in there. You know, make sure that everything's, you know, pretty good, and then just print it. So, you know, some people have, you know, that capability. Real-time provides an instant transcript that is less expensive than daily copy and an instantaneous record. Real-time means that both a hard copy and an electronic computer copy can be obtained. Sometimes the electronic computer copy is preferred to the printed transcript. The computerized transcript can be sent to clients by modem using email, by fax, or by the FTP, or other fast methods of document transmittal. Instant readback in the court situation is available either by looking at the screen or scrolling within the document that appears on the screen, or by using an instant hard copy that can be printed in the rough draft format. Real-time reporting offers a new dimension in terms of searching the record for keys, keyword, and phrases. You know, Angie talked about it last week. You know, when they have keywords, you know, and you can put a keyword and it tells you exactly what page it's on. So, you know, if you're looking for something that they're talking about, and they're talking about a particular piece of equipment, or, you know, whatever, you know, you can zero in on that word and it'll tell you exactly every time that it showed up and what page it's on. It was pretty cool. So I'm going to skip over the closed captioning and the cart. All right.
Is that okay?
Huh?
Is it okay?
Okay. Well, and you kind of came in, you know, just a little bit, but, you know, I told him I'm not going to, you know, talk about something that I had somebody come speak about already. So I think this is just kind of going over some of the stuff that she covered. Videography. Where stenography is a skill of reporting in shorthand and photography is a skill of recording by picture, videography is a skill of recording by videotape. As a permanent method of recording events, it has the advantage and disadvantages, some of which will be listed in this section. Many freelance agencies are offering the videotaping of testimony as litigation support to their clients. In a very real sense, the videotaping of testimony offers a new dimension in transcript production, a dimension that may be advantageous at times and disadvantageous at other times. Successful use of the videotape occurs when it is used as a complement or supplement to the live court reporter, not as a replacement. Although widely used by lawyers and court reporting agencies to record depositions, it has not proved to be widely accepted as the permanent means of recording. And some attorneys do it. You know, they're just cheap and they try to do it that way. You know, so they get a videographer to come in and they'll do, you know, they'll tape a deposition of somebody, and then they're like, you know what, we're gonna need this. So now they're calling court reporting firms, hey, you know, can you type this thing up? Some of them will do it. Some of them will. You know, if it's a you know, good client of theirs or whatever, they'll do it. But I wouldn't. You know, or I'd really charge them a lot. I would. But you know, for them to have not done it in the first place, knowing doggone well that they needed it, you know, just it doesn't make sense to me. You know, and then maybe, you know, they just wanted to see what was going to come out of the deposition. I don't know. And then they realized that, you know what, we do need this. You know, so. In most jurisdictions that allow the videotaping of proceedings, it has been stipulated that the court reporter should be present in order to assure a quick and accurate record in case of electronic malfunction or other reasons. And this is some of the reasons. 1, the electronic malfunction may occur or poor quality of the videotape may result from a variety of reasons. The printed transcript enables the court to rule on potentially objectionable testimony without having to view the entire videotape. Costs are saved when the technician has printed a transcript for editing purposes. For producing a printed transcript from videotape, it is often difficult, slow, laborious, and expensive. It is often difficult to locate portions of videotape testimony or colloquy in a hurry. If a judge wants to review testimony, an operator or equipment may not be available to view the videotape, and extraneous noises such as rustling of papers or moving of chairs may block out the sound of the videotape, but the court reporter can ask the witness to repeat the answer otherwise lost on the record. And that's why they haven't been able to take over court reporting. And I think I told you guys, I mean, that was one of my big worries. You know, and this was in, I'm going to age myself, but in '86. You know, when I was just thinking about court reporting as a sophomore in high school, you know, just thinking about it. You know, that was one of the first questions that I asked. It's like, well, I mean, isn't tape recording going to take over? And the guy that got me in court reporting told me that. He said, Dave, I've been reporting almost 30 years. He said, and they told me that back then. And he had been reporting for 30 years, been out reporting. And now here I was, and it's like, I mean, you take a chance. I mean, who knows if they're going to come out with something tomorrow? They haven't yet. And I think you guys have seen, you know, and everybody has, you know, iPhones now. Talk to Siri and ask her questions and see what kind of stuff comes up with that. You know, and you can ask, you know, simple stuff. Sometimes it's, you know, a little more difficult, and you get all kinds of stuff. So, I mean, and that's why we haven't been able to be taken over, is because we have the ability to be right there, take it right there, and if we don't get it, then we ask them to repeat it. So that's why I tell you guys, you know, when you're in a courtroom or a deposition, you have full control because you're responsible for that record. You are. So, you know, you have full control to ask them, slow down, speak one at a time, repeat what you said, any of that stuff. Okay? Advantages of videotaping. Videotapes can be viewed rather than read, so long as the record is not too long, requiring hours of view time. 2, videotaping gets all of the physical gestures and motions that occurred during testimony. 3, videotaping gets sound and action for the record. 4, a printed record can be produced from the videotape, but the cost and time of producing the transcript from a videotape need not be taken into consideration, and the training of a professional videotape technician requires less time than the training of a qualified court reporter. And that's the bad thing about the hard copy of a court reporter. And I think that's one of the, probably the only disadvantages, is that you don't get voice inflections. You know, so you don't know if they were real mad or, you know, real excited and, you know, stuff like that. I mean, you just take it down. That's it. So, you know, sometimes, you know, and I told you guys about punctuation, you know, and you could take a sentence and punctuate it 3 different ways, and it can have literally 3 different meanings, completely different meanings. You know, so you have to be careful with punctuation. It's not, well, you know, with the comma here, it reads better. But with the comma there, it changes the meaning of the sentence too. Or dash, or something like that, you know. So you have to be careful with the way that you punctuate too. You're not there to clean them up. You're there to take down what they say. Okay? Applications of videotaping. In specific instances, the videotape depositions of a witness or videotape proceedings may be preferred to the actual record, keeping in mind that the court reporter is also present at the videotaping to guarantee an accurate record. And for certain situations. 1. Expert witnesses may have their depositions taken prior to trial. Videotape testimony is then played back at the time of trial, saving the cost and inconvenience of bringing the expert in during the trial. 2. Doctors' depositions are taken for the same reason, and presentation of x-rays and slides may be shown more effectively through videotapes. 2. Demonstrative evidence can be presented showing laboratory experiments that would be impossible to perform in the courtroom. 4. Demonstrations of evidence showing disabilities of injured people in daily situations are shown effectively to juries. Videotaping of places where accidents occurred or the scene of an arson may be used in place of a jury visit. And some police departments videotape confessions and statements. You know, so they don't have a court reporter that sits down there at the police station waiting for people to come in and give confessions. So they usually do it by videotape or whatever. Forms used by videotape technicians. Various specialized forms are required at videotape depositions or proceedings. For example, an opening statement form is read by the reporter at the very beginning of the recording. An example is this type. Prior to the opening record, the video technician will give general instructions to all parties for the court reporter, and the court reporter will secure the agreement of the depositions as being taken under. After receiving the signal from the video technician to begin, the court reporter will read the following opening statement, to be sure to speak slowly and distinctly with plenty of volume. I don't know that I've ever used one of those, ever. So I'm really not sure, you know, what they're talking about or whatever, but you know, you just kind of have like a little blurb in there. You know, it's a little block file that just says, you know, it's a videotape deposition. In the beginning of the deposition, where you have, you know, the front page, you know, where it has, you know, you have a video, I mean a tape deposition, and it's gonna say that, you know, I guess I should get one.